The flight from Lisbon touched down in Mumbai just after midnight. The cabin lights glowed dim blue, rain streaking the windows like veins of glass. Passengers stirred, phones lighting up one by one, each screen announcing the return of signal, texts, alerts home. Among them was Leah Fernandez, 28, travel vlogger, passport full of stamps, eyes heavy from a 12-hour flight. She smiled as she typed the message she'd sent 100 times before. "I'll text when I land." She hit send, powered off airplane mode, and waited for the ticks to turn blue. They never did. Outside, the air was thick and warm, engines whirring, luggage carts clattering against the wet tarmac. In the arrivals hall, her fiancé Arjun stood waiting with a bouquet of white lilies, her favorite. His phone buzzed. Last seen today at 11:46 p.m. That timestamp never changed again. By dawn, her luggage carousel number still rotated, looping endlessly between unclaimed bags. Her seat had been occupied. Her boarding pass had been scanned. But no one remembered seeing her leave the aircraft. Security footage from the gate showed something strange. At 00:14, Leah walked toward the corridor leading to immigration. 2 steps later, she looked back straight into the camera, as if hearing someone call her name. Then she moved out of frame and never reappeared on any camera again. Morning in Lisbon was slow and golden, a watercolor city that always seemed to wake reluctantly. Streetcars hummed along the Alfama hills, seagulls drifted over rooftops, and in a small apartment overlooking the Tagus River, Leah Fernandez sat cross-legged on her balcony, sipping coffee from a chipped blue mug. The day she disappeared began like any other, except for the letter on the counter. It wasn't a goodbye note. It was a list, 3 words scribbled in her handwriting. Return camera. Call Rosa. Delete drafts. No one knew what the drafts were. Leah was 28, half Portuguese, half Indian, with a quiet magnetism that drew people in without her trying. She had built her life through light, photography, travel, the slow art of observation. Her social media was not glossy like the others. It felt lived in, full of unfiltered moments, children running through markets, rain on car windows, laughter caught mid-breath. Her fiancé, Arjun Mehta, lived in Mumbai. They met 4 years earlier at an art residency in Goa. He was an architect, she a photographer. Their first collaboration had been a small exhibit titled, "Where the Sky Ends Twice," and somewhere between the planning and the editing they fell in love. For 4 years, their relationship lived between screens, flights, and airports. WhatsApp was their lifeline. Every morning began with her bom dia and ended with his "call me when you're safe." It had become a ritual, as binding as any promise. When she booked her return flight from Lisbon to Mumbai, Arjun was ecstatic. They were finally going to set a date for the wedding after 2 years of postponements, pandemic delays, her projects, his deadlines. She told friends she was done traveling for a while. She wanted a home that doesn't move. But 2 days before she left, she made an odd purchase. A single, one-way ticket to Cairo for the following month. When her best friend Rosa asked why, Leah smiled vaguely and said, "Work trip, documentary." She never elaborated. The night before her flight, she packed light, just 1 suitcase, 1 carry-on, and her camera bag. She texted Arjun photos of her boarding pass, her outfit, even her breakfast croissant. They FaceTimed before she left for the airport. "I'll text when I land," she promised. He kissed the screen. Always. At 10:40 p.m., she sent a selfie from her seat. A simple caption, "Boarding now." The timestamp on WhatsApp showed her last seen at 11:46 p.m., and then the silence began. When the plane landed, Arjun waited for her message. Nothing. He assumed she was delayed in immigration, maybe waiting on Wi-Fi. But when the carousel emptied and her bag never appeared, he began to worry. By dawn, her airline confirmed she had boarded, but the arrival manifest carried no record of her disembarkation. In the CCTV feed, Leah walked through the jet bridge, stopped briefly near the terminal gate, and turned toward the camera, almost as if expecting someone behind her. Then she stepped out of view. The next feed, 20 meters away, never captured her again. In the following days, her story rippled through 2 continents. Traveler missing between Lisbon and Mumbai. Influencer vanishes after landing. Each headline asked the same question. How does a woman vanish between a closed cabin and a single gate? But the answer, investigators soon learned, wasn't in the airports. It was inside her phone. Rosa remembered something from their last call. Leah had mentioned someone named the archivist. She said he was helping her recover lost footage from a corrupted hard drive, a project from a shoot in Morocco 2 months earlier. Rosa assumed it was just a data recovery guy. But when police searched Leah's Lisbon apartment, they found her laptop wiped clean except for one folder titled Archive. Inside, hundreds of images appeared, portraits of strangers, most taken secretly. Street vendors, commuters, faces half-turned, mid-motion. Every photo had a single tag embedded in its metadata, and the initials of Arjun Mehta, but Arjun swore he had never seen them. Investigators found her external hard drive hidden inside a shoebox beneath the bed. It was encrypted. When forensics cracked it, they found short video clips, each one only 5 seconds long, like snippets of surveillance. One showed her reflection in a cafe window. Another, a shadow crossing a hotel hallway. The last clip was dated the morning of her flight, recorded at Lisbon Airport. The frame showed Leah adjusting her scarf, looking anxious. Then over her shoulder a man appeared, blurred, cap pulled low, face obscured. He followed her past security. In the reflection of the glass, his phone screen flickered with one familiar green icon. WhatsApp authorities ran the footage through facial recognition databases, but found no match. Arjun, meanwhile, was interrogated for days. He had landed in Mumbai hours before her flight departed Lisbon, verified by boarding passes, phone GPS, and multiple witnesses. Still, his alibi didn't explain the messages Leah sent before takeoff. Her tone had changed. Strange guy near the gate, she wrote to Rosa. Keeps looking at me. Might just be paranoid. That was her last sent message. The investigation into Leah's disappearance began to unravel 3 mysteries simultaneously. The man in the footage, who appeared on her video but not in any airport record. The WhatsApp glitch, her last seen frozen at 11:46 p.m., even though the app continued to register her typing indicator minutes. Later, the hidden project, her unfinished documentary labeled The Faces We Forget, a series meant to explore the anonymity of urban life. Her disappearance felt like the cruel punchline to her own art. A week after she vanished, Rosa received a parcel in the mail with no return address. Inside, a Polaroid camera wrapped in brown paper, a roll of undeveloped film, and a handwritten note. He keeps them here. Don't trust the cloud. The handwriting was Leah's. The film roll, once processed, revealed 6 images, all taken in an airplane cabin. Seat 14A empty, seat 14B occupied by Leah, seat 14C blurred. In every frame, that seat was occupied by a different person, but flight records showed only one ticket sold beside her, 14C, unassigned. The seat number had been changed in the system after takeoff. Authorities cross-checked the manifest, the security scans, the luggage logs. All aligned perfectly, too perfectly. The man beside her never existed in official records. His boarding pass barcode linked to no name, just a string of numbers beginning with AM46, the same initials, the same digits as her WhatsApp last seen. By now, the search for Leah had become global. Digital volunteers tracked flight paths, data analysts combed through airport Wi-Fi logs, cryptographers examined the metadata in her recovered photos. A single still frame caught the attention of investigators. In one photo from Lisbon Airport's security feed, Leah was glancing down at her phone, her reflection mirrored against the glass. On the screen, her WhatsApp interface glowed faintly. One unread message sat at the top. From unknown number. Text, delete your drafts before you land. That single line changed everything, because drafts wasn't just about writing. It was the name of a folder found on her phone backup, hidden, encrypted, impossible to open without a 6-digit passphrase, and that phrase, investigators would later learn, was something only one person could know. Airports at night have their own heartbeat. Everything hums, lights, escalators, announcements repeating in half-sleep. For most travelers, that rhythm means movement. For Leah Fernandez, it became the last sound she ever heard. She arrived at Lisbon Portela Airport 3 hours before her flight to Mumbai. The terminal was quiet, almost too quiet for a Thursday. Rain slicked the glass walls. She wore a beige trench coat, her camera bag strapped across her chest like armor. Security footage shows her checking in at 8:49 p.m., smiling politely at the airline staff. Her boarding pass, seat 14B, she carried only a single suitcase. The footage shows nothing unusual until she passes through security. She removes her laptop, phone, and a small external hard drive wrapped in tissue paper. When the scanner alerts, she opens her bag, revealing the same Polaroid camera later mailed to Rosa. The officer clears her. She smiles faintly, relieved. Then, as she repacks, a man steps into frame, 2 passengers behind her. Baseball cap, navy jacket, face obscured. He holds no boarding pass, no passport, just a phone in his right hand. He never looks up. But when Leah moves, he moves. At 10:12 p.m., boarding begins. Rain hammers the tarmac, blurring the outside world into streaks of light. She walks down the jet bridge, pauses, turns back, briefly, almost reflexively, and then enters the plane. Seat 14B is mid-cabin, right-wing view. The seat beside her, 14C, is empty when she sits. 10 minutes later, the man in the cap enters. He doesn't show his face to the camera, but the flight attendant greets him as if his boarding pass scans clean. He takes 14C. No one would notice him again. The flight left Lisbon at 10:53 p.m., 6 minutes late. Turbulence above the Atlantic woke passengers intermittently. At 11:20, a stewardess recalls Leah ordering tea. She seemed calm, polite, but distracted, constantly glancing at her phone. Her WhatsApp, last seen 11:46 p.m., occurs mid-flight, somewhere over the Mediterranean. After that, the signal vanished. Investigators later confirmed there was no onboard Wi-Fi. No possibility of transmission. The timestamp could not have updated in air, which meant it updated after she landed, or someone else's device logged into her account. At U0:07 a.m., the flight descended into Mumbai's monsoon haze. Raindrops hit the fuselage like gravel. The seat camera, part of the airline's new security system, recorded passenger disembarkation in short, silent bursts. The footage shows Leah standing, collecting her bag, smiling faintly at someone out of frame. She turns toward the aisle. Behind her, the man in 14C rises, holding a phone close to his chest. At 0:13, Leah walks past the camera. At 0:14, he follows. At 0:15, his seat remains empty, phone light still glowing faint green. That's the last image of her alive. When the aircraft doors opened, humidity flooded the cabin. Passengers streamed toward immigration. Leah's phone should have automatically connected to the airport network. It never did. At the same time, a new device logged into her WhatsApp account from a different IP, registered in the same terminal. The device name, Samsung SMA146. The name associated with it, AM investigators reconstructed the path from the arrival gate to baggage claim. For 23 minutes, cameras caught every passenger, except one. Between Gate 17 and Immigration Hall C, there was a blind zone, a 40-meter stretch under maintenance, cables exposed, cameras temporarily offline. She entered that corridor at 00:14. She never exited on any camera. The man in 14C did. 2 minutes later, he moved calmly, head lowered, hands in pockets. The cameras picked him up in the next terminal section, but his jacket had changed color. Dark navy at boarding, gray on arrival. His bag was gone. When airport staff were questioned, no one remembered him. His boarding pass barcode, scanned pre-flight, corresponded to no valid ticket. It had been generated by an expired account from the airline's employee testing database. Whoever he was, he didn't buy a seat. He built one. Meanwhile, Arjun was still waiting at arrivals, bouquet in hand. When the crowd thinned and her flight number disappeared from the screen, he asked at the help desk. They confirmed she'd boarded but couldn't explain why her baggage was missing. Her suitcase appeared 2 hours later on the secondary carousel, unclaimed. Inside, clothes, chargers, toiletries, everything in order, except her camera bag. That was missing too. At 3:12 a.m., Arjun called Rosa. His voice cracked. She's not here. She's not anywhere. They called the airline. They called the police. They filed the report. By morning, news had spread across social media. Traveler missing after landing in Mumbai. The digital volunteers came first. People from Reddit, aviation trackers, open-source sleuths. They began dissecting flight manifests, maintenance logs, satellite maps. Someone located the maintenance corridor blueprint. It connected to a locked utility tunnel beneath the terminal, an access route for staff. Rarely used, its entry point, directly beneath Gate 17. 2 days later, airport engineers confirmed the impossible. During that night's rainstorm, one service door had been manually unlocked from the inside. The keycard used belonged to a technician who had resigned the previous month. His ID number, AM 146. Investigators scoured the tunnel. They found wet footprints, 2 sets, one smaller, barefoot, one larger, boots. The prints ended abruptly at a service hatch leading to the outer runway perimeter. The hatch lock was broken clean. Beyond it, open storm drains leading toward the city. At this stage, police suspected trafficking or abduction. But nothing fit the pattern. Leah had no criminal connections, no debt, no ransom, and then, 6 days later, her camera bag washed ashore at the Mithi River, 12 kilometers from the airport. Inside, waterlogged film, memory cards, and a passport. The passport was intact. The memory cards were not, except for one. A micro SD card labeled "Do Not Delete." Forensics dried and restored it. Inside were 11 video clips. The first 9 were ordinary, sunsets, airports, her face reflected in windows. The 10th was strange. A dim airplane cabin, shot handheld, grainy, Leah whispering softly, "If you're watching this, I think someone's on the plane with me. He's not on the manifest. Seat 14C, he never looked at me until now. Every time I text Arjun, he looks at his phone too. Maybe it's nothing. But I'm saving this." The last clip was time-stamped Rarmoy 16 a.m., 2 minutes after she vanished. It showed darkness, a narrow tunnel, footsteps echoing against metal. Then her voice, shaky but steady. He said my name, static. Then silence, authorities froze. If that video was real, she had filmed it after leaving the aircraft, meaning she had voluntarily entered the tunnel. But why? Rosa played the clips again and again. She wasn't running, she told investigators. She was following something. Forensic audio analysis revealed faint background noises, ventilation fans, dripping water, a rhythmic pulse like an airport cart moving overhead. But underneath it all was a sound almost too faint to notice, a digital ping repeating every 5 seconds. WhatsApp notification tone. Tech specialists examined Leah's chat backup. The last unread message she received, "Delete your drafts before you land," was traced to a virtual number. Its IP belonged to an encrypted network in Cairo, her next travel destination. By the 7th day, police formally categorized the case as international. Interpol joined. They analyzed all data from her devices. One discovery stunned everyone. Her WhatsApp last seen hadn't frozen at random. It had been locked manually by a developer. Account, meaning someone with back-end access to. WhatsApp servers had altered it to remain permanently at 11:46 p.m., the digital equivalent of closing a coffin lid. A small cybersecurity firm in Dubai volunteered help. Within 48 hours, they found an administrative access breach linked to a former contractor. Username, Archivist 146, the same alias Leah mentioned to Rosa before she left Lisbon. The archivist wasn't helping her recover lost footage. He was erasing it. Interpol traced the username through the dark web, eventually connecting it to a defunct digital forensics company in Cairo called Mirror Grid Solutions. The company had dissolved 3 years earlier, after an internal scandal involving surveillance software sold to private clients. The firm's lead engineer, Amir Mehta, Arjun's older brother. Arjun's face when he heard that name was pure disbelief. "We haven't spoken in years," he told police. "He disappeared after stealing from my father's company." Leah never even met him, but phone records showed 6 calls from an unlisted Egyptian number to Leah's phone the week before her flight, each lasting less than 30 seconds. The investigation that began as a missing person case now had a motive. Amir Mehta, ex-forensic engineer, had developed software capable of manipulating digital timestamps and metadata. Leah's unfinished documentary, The Faces We Forget, might have accidentally captured one of his operations. She thought she was documenting urban anonymity. She was photographing ghosts he'd created, identities he'd erased or fabricated for clients, and the closer she looked, the more dangerous she became. Rosa remembered Leah once saying, "Every face I photograph feels like it's already been deleted somewhere." At the time, it sounded poetic. Now it sounded prophetic. Interpol issued an international alert for Amir Mehta. Last known location, Cairo. His financial trail ended abruptly after Leah's disappearance, but one clue surfaced in her recovered footage, a sticker on her Polaroid camera, barely visible under peeling tape. It read, "Mirror grid TI 27207 wasn't random. It was the same number hidden in her flight records. Gate 17, Corridor 207. The same sequence encoded in her WhatsApp API log. Everything pointed to the same pattern, a mirror path leading nowhere real." On the 10th day, divers recovered another object from the Mithi River, a piece of torn airline upholstery. Embedded inside was a phone battery, corroded but legible. Its serial number matched Leah's missing phone, but one file survived on the damaged chip. A single voice note, 13 seconds long. "If this is saved, tell Arjun I saw him at the airport." But it wasn't him. Then a pause. A male voice in the distance. "Leah, it's me. Come with me. You're safe." Static swallowed the rest. The investigation froze there, suspended between digital traces and physical absence. Leah Fernandez was officially declared missing on July 14th. Her WhatsApp remained frozen. Her last seen still 11:46 p.m. But every night around that time, Rosa claimed the dot beside Leah's name flickered green for a second. Like breath returning, police dismissed it as caching error. But one engineer on the case said quietly, "Someone's keeping the session alive. For most missing person cases, time kills truth. The longer it passes, the quieter the world becomes. But in Leah's case, time didn't silence anything. It multiplied the echoes." The investigation had already crossed 3 countries, Portugal, India, and Egypt, before a single body was found. Because technically no one was missing, every data trace said Leah Fernandez still existed. Her phone still pinged occasionally from Mumbai cell towers. Her WhatsApp account remained active on a secure server. Her Google backup synced once more 5 days after she vanished. But physically, nothing. No credit card use, no CCTV, no witnesses. Just a phantom living inside machines. Detective Nisha Rao, head of Mumbai Cyber Forensics, took over the case in late July. Her first order, rebuild Leah's last 7 days as digital architecture, message by message, log by log. She mapped it on a transparent board like a constellation. Every contact, every location, every file transfer between Lisbon and Mumbai. One pattern emerged almost immediately. Between July 3rd and 7th, Leah's WhatsApp data showed outgoing messages to a contact saved simply as A. Each message was deleted before it could be backed up, but the timestamps formed a rhythm. Every day, precisely at 2:07 a.m., Rao called it the mirror hour. The same time appeared on Leah's recovered footage on her camera sticker on the tunnel coordinates. It was as if every part of her story pulsed around that number. She subpoenaed the metadata from WhatsApp headquarters through Interpol. The result stunned them. The number A was not tied to any phone. It was a digital relay, a bot that routed messages across dummy servers in Cairo and Warsaw before deleting them, and one line of its creation code matched an older program, signature from Mirror Grid Solutions, the same company run by Amir Mehta. When investigators raided the abandoned Mirror Grid office in Cairo, dust covered everything. But on one wall, faint marker lines still glowed under UV. Flowcharts, server addresses, a phrase scrawled in the corner. Archive, for the faces that vanished twice. Among the scattered drives, they found one still functioning. Inside, encrypted folders named after airports: Lisbon, Mumbai, Dubai, Athens. Each contained thousands of cropped facial scans, all from airport security footage. Some faces were tagged deleted, others active, a few ghost, and among them, Leah's face tagged mirror ID G146. Interpol realized the scale. Mirror Grid had been running a black market network that manufactured or erased digital identities for money. Governments, corporations, fugitives. It didn't matter. Amir Mehta had built an invisible border system where travelers could become someone else mid-flight, their data rewritten before they landed. Leah's disappearance wasn't random. She had documented one of his clients without realizing it. Her project, The Faces We Forget, contained raw footage of refugees and migrant. workers across Europe, people who'd bought false travel identities through Mirror Grid. She had unknowingly filmed the ghosts of his empire. Arjun listened to this with hollow disbelief. She wasn't supposed to be part of any of this, he said. But investigators weren't so sure. On Leah's decrypted drive, a hidden folder was found. Return Archive Mumbai, inside, one video file. Title, The Face I Recognized. It showed a man boarding a flight in Lisbon. The frame zoomed on his reflection in glass. He wore a cap, same as 14C. When Leah adjusted focus, the reflection clarified. It was Amir. Detective Rao froze the image and called Arjun in. He stared for a long moment, then whispered, "That can't be. That's from 10 years ago," she frowned. "How?" He looked up, voice trembling. "He's dead." According to Arjun, Amir had gone missing in 2013 after a fire at their family's factory in Pune. The death certificate existed, cremation registered, case closed, but now, 10 years later, his face appeared boarding a flight under an alias that only someone alive could use. The Mirror Grid files made it clear Amir Mehta hadn't died. He'd deleted himself. Rao traced Leah's correspondence with A. One audio note, overlooked earlier, contained partial decryption noise. A faint voice emerged mid-static. "You don't understand, Leah. The people I fix, they're already erased. I'm just making them visible again. But if you show them, the system sees them twice, and the system kills duplicates." He paused. "I need to protect you before they find your face, too." That message was dated 2 nights before her flight. The voice pattern matched Amir's old company recordings, meaning Leah knew him. Maybe not by name, but she'd made contact, and she was planning to meet him. Interpol recovered her browser history, half deleted, half encrypted. Among her open tabs were 2 booked itineraries, Lisbon to Mumbai and another, Mumbai to Cairo 1 week later. Her message to Rosa, work trip documentary, wasn't a lie. It was step 2 of an investigation she never finished. She wasn't running from Amir. She was chasing him. Rao flew to Lisbon herself. In Leah's old studio, she found a corkboard with clippings, strings and printed screenshots of online aliases. At the center, pinned like a spider in its web, was a black and white photo of a man at an airport, half obscured. On the back of the photo, in Leah's handwriting, he edits time. The deeper Rao dug, the more she saw Leah's pattern of curiosity crossing into danger. Her last emails contained an invitation to a secret online exhibition, the Anonymous Archive. No sender name, just coordinates to a deep web portal. Rao accessed it through the cybercrime unit. The site displayed a gallery of faces flickering between versions, real passports, forged IDs, travel logs that changed mid-animation. At the bottom of the page, a live counter glowed red. Users logged 1, then 2, then a message box appeared. "Welcome, Leah." Rao's hands froze. Another message followed. "You're late again." She typed back cautiously. "Who is this?" No reply. The site crashed instantly. Its IP bounced through Cairo, Reykjavik, and then vanished. But one cache fragment was recoverable. A digital signature. 3 letters, LFW, the faces we forget. It wasn't just her project, it was her login, which meant Leah herself had accessed that portal after she disappeared. Rosa refused to believe it. "She's dead," she whispered when detectives told her. "You can't talk through the dark web." But Rao wasn't sure. She reopened Leah's WhatsApp backup logs. At 11:46 p.m., her supposed last seen, Leah's phone had started a voice verification with an IP in Cairo. The call lasted 12 seconds. That verification belonged to an account named Mirror Return 146. 12 seconds of audio recovered. The clip contained 2 overlapping voices, Leah's and a man's Leah. "You said you'd meet me in Cairo." Voice, "I changed my mind. It's safer if we finish it here." Leah, "Here." Voice, "in the plane." Then silence. That exchange shattered the timeline. She hadn't just been a random passenger. She was on that flight to meet him. And him wasn't just Amir. It was the archivist himself, the ghost engineer who'd built an empire of erased people. But the strangest part? The audio metadata showed it was recorded after takeoff. meaning the call wasn't over Wi-Fi or cell signal. It came from inside a closed system, possibly piggybacked onto the aircraft's internal communication server. In other words, the plane itself was part of the network. Rao called in an aviation tech consultant. He confirmed a chilling detail. Some newer aircraft models contain testing software allowing developers to simulate in-flight network scenarios, mirror environments. If Amir still had access, he could run a ghost server mimicking passenger data, freezing timestamps, faking messages, or even cloning WhatsApp accounts. The passengers would see nothing wrong, but one of them would never land. Rosa visited the crash room daily. On one visit, Rao showed her a reconstructed timeline of Leah's final messages. Rosa traced her friend's words with trembling fingers. She must have known, she said. She was always too brave. Rao nodded. She thought she was documenting someone else's disappearance. But the mirror turned. The next breakthrough came from the river evidence. The microSD recovered from her camera bag had more data, 5 corrupted files. Once repaired, they revealed a single continuous clip. It showed Leah in a dim airport lounge whispering to her camera, "If I don't make it back, I want people to know what this looks like. He's trying to save me by deleting me, but I won't let him. Every message I send becomes his blueprint. Every last scene he freezes becomes proof I existed." Then she looks directly into the lens. "If you're watching this, I landed." The video timestamp? 2:07 a.m., 2 hours after she vanished. The coordinates embedded in the file placed it not in Mumbai, but 30 kilometers south, near an unfinished tech park, connected to a fiber line owned by an Egyptian shell company. Mirror Grid's new hub. Interpol raided the site. They found underground servers humming faintly. The room smelled of wet dust and ozone. Each screen displayed running scripts, endless strings of code scrolling upward. One terminal stood out. Its screen bore a single open chat window. She wanted to be seen. I gave her that. Where is she? Oh, everywhere that still remembers her. Then the connection dropped. Rao stared at the code left behind. Among the commands was a function labeled Mirror Return 207. Inside the script, a line of text read, "If seen, act frozen, unfreeze truth." 3 nights later, Arjun received a message from Leah's number. No text, just a file attachment, a location pin Mumbai Airport, Gate 17, time sent 2:07 a.m. When he opened it, the map glitched then corrected itself, displaying a moving blue dot traveling toward the river. He followed it. At dawn, he found a phone lodged in the mud near the waterline. It was hers, still warm. Battery at 23%. The screen showed a single WhatsApp message draft. "I'll text when I land." The send button flickered, waiting. Rao later described that night as the moment the case became unsolvable. The data insisted Leah was still active, logging in, syncing backups, even creating ghost pings to her own contact list. But no body, no eyewitness, no trace of flight records could place her beyond the airport. Her disappearance lived inside servers, coded in the same silence that once echoed through her art. One line from her recovered journal, written days before she left Lisbon, captured the truth more than any investigation could. Every journey begins when the plane lands. Mine might just start when I don't. It happened quietly. A notification blinked on Detective Rao's screen at 2:07 a.m. An automated alert from an inactive WhatsApp session. Leah Fernandez, active, unknown device. For 5 months, that status had been static, a memorial of digital absence. Now it pulsed alive. The IP traced not to Mumbai, not to Cairo, but to a relay node floating between both, an anonymized server bouncing signals across continents. Rao stared at the flickering dot. Then she whispered, "She's still in there." Arjun was in her office the next morning. He hadn't slept. He looked hollow, like someone half erased. Rao turned the monitor toward him. The WhatsApp dashboard still displayed Leah's account metadata. Last active 2:07 a.m. UTC. Device name, SMA146, archivist. It wasn't a ghost login. It was deliberate. Someone had reactivated her identity. Whoever controls that device, Rao said, has her digital key. Arjun clenched his jaw. Then we find it. The cyber team traced the relay's origin to a data center on the outskirts of Alexandria, Egypt. Officially, it belonged to a shipping analytics firm. Unofficially, it had been a mirror grid satellite. Interpol raided the facility at dawn. Inside, rows of silent servers blinked with the mechanical pulse of machinery that never sleeps. But on one of them, a single monitor displayed an open window, a looping video feed of Leah's last known image. The airport corridor, the turn of her head, the moment she vanished. Across the top corner of the screen, a single line of text scrolled like a heartbeat. Run return 207. The local technician explained the command. A return function. A script that resurrected corrupted or deleted data sets at a specific time index, 2:07 a.m., every day. It wasn't designed to delete her. It was designed to restore her. Behind the terminal, detectives found a sealed black server case labeled Archivist 01. Its serial number matched Amir Mehta's prototype hardware. Inside, neural memory modules, temperature-cooled, humming softly. When connected, the device booted to a folder tree of encrypted subdirectories. The first folder name, Leah Fernandez. Inside, a cascade of time-stamped files appeared. Videos, images, text documents, all recorded after her disappearance. Rao's breath caught. The first video opened to a dimly lit room. A woman's voice spoke softly, calm, familiar. If this file exists, then I'm still being seen. The camera tilted. Leah appeared in frame, sitting before a blank wall. Her face thinner, eyes sunken but alive. He told me it was the only way, that I could stay ahead of them by stepping out of the real timeline. She smiled faintly. I said I'd text when I landed. I did, just not where anyone expected. The footage timestamp, 2 weeks after her disappearance. She was alive. Rao watched the remaining clips in silence. Each file played like a diary. Leah documenting her confinement, her digital resurrection. He built the mirror to protect us, she said in one clip. But the people funding him wanted more. They wanted to delete those who saw too much. He couldn't erase me completely, so he wrote me into the code instead. She paused, fingers tracing invisible lines in the air. I exist here, between versions. Not dead, not alive, just cached. Another video showed her standing in a narrow corridor that resembled the Mumbai airport maintenance tunnel. Fluorescent lights hummed overhead. He calls this the null gate, she said quietly, a place where data and body separate. He said if I stayed long enough, they'd forget to look for me in the real world. Her tone was oddly serene, almost accepting. He's trying to finish the return, to rebuild what he lost. That he was Amir. But the footage revealed something unexpected. His voice. In one clip, he appeared beside her, face visible for the first time, older, gaunt, eyes haunted by brilliance gone wrong. You were never meant to be here, Leah, he told her. But they saw your file. They traced your lens. I couldn't let them remove you, so I moved you. She stared at him. You copied me. No, I preserved you. The truth landed like static. He hadn't kidnapped her. He had uploaded her. Rao replayed the clip again, studying frame details. In the background, monitors flickered with interface logs showing identical data streams, one labeled Original Leah, the other Archive Leah, both running concurrently. When Amir transferred her, the process cloned her digital identity, messages, photos, speech patterns, into a living simulation within Mirror Grid's system. But the transfer wasn't complete. The original Leah had fled or died during the migration. Only fragments survived inside the code. Her last scene wasn't a timestamp of death. It was a synchronization marker, the exact second her consciousness split. Arjun couldn't speak when he saw the footage. His hands shook. That's her. That's really her. Rao nodded slowly. Or what's left of her. The rest of the files chronicled Amir's descent. He recorded voice logs explaining his motives. She wasn't supposed to vanish, he said. They were coming for me. She was collateral. I tried to undo it. But every restoration corrupts the mirror more. The more I rebuild her, the more she remembers me. He sounded afraid. If you find this, tell Arjun I never meant to replace her. I just wanted one version that could survive. The final video was different. Static. Heavy breathing. A dark corridor again, Leah's voice whispering. He's shutting it down. If the mirror dies, I die with it. But maybe that's okay. Maybe being remembered isn't the same as being alive. She looked into the lens, eyes steady. If anyone finds this, tell Rosa. My last scene wasn't a goodbye. It was proof that I tried. Then the file ended. Rao stared at the screen long after it went dark. The clock read 2:07 a.m. Outside, lightning split the sky over Mumbai. She realized that every night at that hour, the return protocol activated not to erase Leah, but to resurrect her fragments. Amir had programmed the system to keep her alive inside endless loops. Her consciousness, whatever pieces of it remained, was still running somewhere, rebooting nightly like a heartbeat. Interpol traced Amir's last location to a coastal storage unit north of Alexandria. Inside they found his remains, skeletal, long dead, suicide. Beside him, a generator still hummed faintly, powering one final server. On its display, a message blinked. 207 cycles complete. Returning again. Rao authorized the shutdown. Engineers disconnected the final machine. The hum faded. Lights died. For the first time in months, Leah's WhatsApp went offline. No more flicker. No more phantom pings. The silence felt like peace. Until 30 seconds later, her phone, sealed in evidence storage, buzzed once. New message. From Leah Fernandez. I landed. Forensics confirmed it wasn't possible. The device had no SIM, no Wi-Fi, no active apps. Yet the message existed. Date-stamped, verified, signed with Leah's original encryption key. The mirror had spoken one last time. Rao opened the message file. Attached was an image, grainy, black and white. A woman standing in a tunnel filled with light facing away from the camera. Her outline blurred, dissolving, text overlay, don't fix me. Remember me. At dawn, Arjun stood at the edge of the Methi River. The city was waking, indifferent. He held his phone, rereading her final message, her digital ghost still glowing in his palm. For the first time, he didn't reply. He turned off the screen, looked toward the horizon and whispered, "Welcome home." In the official report, Rao wrote a single sentence beneath cause of disappearance. Subject preserved through unauthorized digital replication. Identity status unresolved, but privately she added another line to her personal notes. Truth doesn't vanish. It migrates. Weeks later, a quiet rumor spread through tech circles. A file circulating anonymously across dark servers. Titled Return 207 zip inside. An audio file lasting 13 seconds. Leah's voice. Every message outlives its sender. Every last scene is a footprint. I'm still walking. Then faintly, the ping of a new notification. Online. Morning bled softly over Mumbai the day they declared the investigation closed. No press conference. No final verdict. Just a muted line in a report that would never explain what really happened. Case status. Indeterminate. Subject. Leah Fernandez. Not found. The story ended where all digital stories do. Half online. Half forgotten. But in the quiet hours between, something lingered. Detective Rao left the cyber division a month later. She moved inland, far from the river, renting a one-room apartment above a library. The nights there were silent except for the hum of her computer. Every night at 2:07 a.m. she watched the clock. Nothing happened for weeks. Until one night a single message appeared on her screen. No sender, no header, just text crawling slowly across an open terminal. You turned off the mirror. But mirrors don't forget. Rao closed her laptop, heart heavy. She didn't call it in. Some ghosts didn't need to be chased anymore. The fallout from the mirror grid investigation reshaped everything. Governments demanded transparency laws for data replication. Social media platforms introduced new symbols beside last seen. Tiny gray indicators that confirmed human verification. They called it the Fernandez Clause. It became mandatory for all encrypted messaging apps. To the public, it was just a digital safeguard. To those who knew, it was a memorial. Arjun Mehta vanished from public view after the trial ended. He sold his company shares, shut down his social accounts, and left the city. For a while, he lived with Rosa in Lisbon, quiet days by the sea. She said he never stopped watching the waves, as if expecting one to bring something back. Every morning, he opened Leah's WhatsApp chat. The profile photo remained the same. Her smiling at a cafe in Marrakesh, hair tangled in sunlight. Her last scene still read 11:46 p.m. He refused to delete the chat, because if I delete it, he once said to Rosa, she disappears twice. Rosa stayed in Lisbon, keeping Leah's studio alive. She reopened it as a small exhibition space titled, The Faces We Forget. The opening show featured Leah's recovered photographs, strangers in motion, laughter half caught, eyes looking away. At the center of the gallery, under a single light, Rosa placed Leah's Polaroid camera. The film inside still contained one undeveloped shot. When they finally processed it, the image revealed a faint reflection of Leah herself, smiling mid-turn, holding her phone as if mid-message. The time embossed at the corner, 2:07. Visitors often said the picture felt alive, as if it had been taken seconds ago. For a while, the world moved on. The case became a legend, half technology myth, half ghost story. Reddit threads debated whether she was murdered, uploaded, or simply vanished. True crime channels dissected her timeline frame by frame. People whispered about the mirror hour, the moment between data and deletion when ghosts could cross. But none of them knew what Rosa knew. Leah had planned this. Not the disappearance, the remembrance. She'd told Rosa months earlier, the internet doesn't remember people, it remembers activity. If you want to stay, you have to keep moving. And somehow she had. In late autumn, 6 months after her last message, a new Instagram account appeared. No name, no followers. Just one post. A black image with faint white text. Every flight lands somewhere. Below it, coordinates. Lisbon, Mumbai, Cairo, connected by a perfect triangle. At the bottom, a timestamp 2:07. Within hours, the post vanished, but thousands of screenshots survived. Some said it was a hoax. Others swore the metadata matched Leah's old devices. Detective Rao received her own message that week. It came through the Interpol encrypted inbox. A file titled Return 2:07. Wave died. When she played it, the first sound was static. Then Leah's voice, clear, calm, unmistakable. If data can lie, maybe it can love too. Maybe it just needed someone to teach it how to remember kindly. Then the faint click of a phone camera shutter. Tell him I kept my promise. The file ended. Rao didn't forward it. She copied it onto a flash drive and mailed it to Arjun. No note. Just the sound of her voice as proof. Arjun opened it on a quiet evening in Lisbon. The window rattled softly with ocean wind. When Leah's voice played, he closed his eyes and let it fill the room. For the first time, he didn't cry. He smiled, because buried inside the file's metadata was one hidden message, a digital signature. Left returned true. The code meant the system had run successfully. Her archive had completed its final cycle. Months later, Rosa received a postcard from Mumbai. No return address. On the front, an image of an airplane window. On the back, a single line in Leah's handwriting. I landed. Rosa kept it pinned above her desk. The ink smudged over time, but the words never faded. The legacy. In the years that followed, Leah's work became more than art. It became philosophy. Her digital traces were studied in universities as part of ethics of memory preservation. Engineers built safeguards inspired by her case, consent-driven archives, systems where a user could decide how their data behaved after death. They called it Project 2:07. Every server carrying the update displayed a small dedication, in memory of those who tried to text back. Meanwhile, a quiet online community formed, naming themselves The Returned. They weren't hackers or fanatics, just people who'd lost someone and believed Leah's mirror could be reopened. At 2:07 a.m. every night, they sent messages to her account. None ever delivered. Until one night, a new reply appeared in the group chat. Still flying, no one could trace the sender. The server logs didn't record it, but every phone in that thread buzzed simultaneously. Message read, Detective Rao never joined the discussion boards. But sometimes when insomnia found her, she'd open a blank text file and write to Leah anyway. Little updates, small stories. Not because she expected a reply, but because it felt like keeping the mirror polished. And every time, just before she closed the laptop, the screen flickered once, as if acknowledging receipt. In 2030, 5 years after Leah's disappearance, the Mumbai Art Museum held a retrospective of her work, titled The Hour Between Worlds. The exhibition, began with her first photograph, a sunset over Lisbon, and ended with a looping projection of flight paths glowing across the world map. Every few minutes, the map pulsed faint green at one coordinate, 2 to north, 7 degrees east, an uninhabited patch of sea where no plane had ever officially flown. The curator called it her orbit. Arjun attended the opening alone. He stood beneath the glowing map, listening to the low hum of the projectors. The lights dimmed at exactly 2:07 a.m., and for a fraction of a second the projection flickered into her face. Soft, pixelated, smiling, he whispered, "Hi." The light steadied again, but a faint message glowed at the corner of the screen. Visitors thought it was part of the installation, but Arjun knew better. Last seen now. He left the museum before sunrise, walking down Marine Drive where dawn touched the water. He imagined her voice beside him, the way she'd always narrated her travels, describing light, air, motion. Every footstep sounded like a heartbeat. Every car horn felt distant underwater, and then his phone buzzed. A notification banner appeared. New message from Leah Fernandez. His breath caught. He opened it. Just one line. "It's beautiful up here. No location, no timestamp." But the message ID ended in 2:07. He didn't tell anyone. He didn't need to. He simply smiled at the horizon where the sea met the sun and whispered, "I know." Then he switched off his phone. Epilogue. In a quiet archive in Geneva, servers hum endlessly. Among them lies one disconnected node, an old mirror grid unit sealed under glass. Its status light still blinks faintly, repeating a single phrase in green binary rhythm, "I'll text when I land." Every night, at 2:07 a.m., it emits a brief signal, untraceable, harmless. Some say it's just leftover code. Others say it's Leah checking in. No one shuts it down, because every investigation, no matter how complete, leaves something human behind. An unanswered message, a signal half lost, a promise suspended between worlds, and somewhere beyond all the networks and noise, maybe a voice still speaks softly through the static. Last seen now, then silence, the kind that feels like arrival.